Hello everybody, Sean here, and we are looking at the optional boss in the new Dark Souls 2 DLC, the Old Iron King. And the optional boss this time around is none other than the Smelter Demon, a fan favorite of the original Dark Souls 2 content. A very well-known boss, as he is just very difficult. He's a very, very difficult boss. If you don't know how to approach him, the first time you encounter him and the 100th time you encounter him, it could be a bad time. But we're here to kind of get that under wraps. So if you've beat him before, not much has changed. You're going to come into this fight, and if you've beat him several times, you will be able to take him down one more time. It won't be an issue for you. However, if this is your first or maybe even just your second time encountering this guy and you want a little extra help, well, let's start with the basics. What is he weak against? Well, as you could probably guess, it is lightning. So if you could come in here with the Hyde's Lightning Sword or any other lightning enchanted weapon, that'll give you a leg up on the situation, as you will be dealing slightly more damage. Now don't get me wrong, you're not going to be dealing tons more damage, but if you're doing 50 more damage a swing, that adds up, and it might save you a swing or two, and might save your life, because really, the longer this fight goes, the more damage you're going to take. That's just part of this fight's mechanic. The other thing to keep in mind is that the boss will still act as the normal Smelter Demon does. So he starts out with basic attacks, and then once he reaches a certain point in his health bar, or a certain time, it seems to be either or, he will kind of just stand still and ignite himself. You'll see his chest is now glowing with a much brighter blue flame. And then when he reaches another point in time, either health-wise or after a certain time duration, he will stick his sword inside himself, which will ignite his sword as well. Once he has ignited his body, you can no longer stand beside him without taking damage. Now, the normal Smelter Demon and this one are a little different, and I'm sure you've already spotted the difference, in that the normal Smelter Demon is a fire-based enemy. He is very clearly glowing with fire, his sword is on fire, lots and lots of fiery death. This one is glowing with blue death. That means he is actually magically enchanted and is not based in fire at all. So, before you even get to this fight, when you're preparing for it, what you want to do is make sure you have magic defense through the roof, as high as you can possibly get it. Now, I did this with a combination of Lucatiel's armor and Wanderer's armor, which is it just so happened to be that it's my best armor that I like to use, and it also has pretty decent magical defense. It wasn't the best, but it was good enough to make me happy. But then I augmented that very greatly using some rings. So I have 2 rings on, one of them being the Spell Quartz ring, which is giving me a massive boost in my magic defense. And then one other ring, I believe, is the Dispelling ring, +1 or +2, which also gives me more magical defense, for a grand total of around 650, give or take a few points. The reason you want to get so much magic defense is not just to block when he hits you with the sword, but it's also to block the damage he's going to do when you stand near him, because again, once his chest is ignited, standing near him will trigger a damage over time effect, similar to if you were just standing in fire. You're just slowly going to take damage. But the more magical defense you have, the less damage you're going to take from this. So, with that 650, you can see that I can stand beside him pretty safely, as I'm only taking a few points of damage per second by standing near him, as opposed to coming into this fight the first time, and my health bar was like very quickly draining. So it makes a huge difference getting even a couple hundred points of magical defense. And, of course, during times like that where I get hit by his magic or hit by the sword, it's definitely saving my life. Aside from that, there's not a whole lot else you can do to prepare for this fight, as this fight is largely going to be on your ability to dodge. Whether you're a melee character or range character, you're pretty well going to have to do the fight the same way. He's a slow-moving enemy. His attacks are pretty basic. I mean, the only special attack he even has is the one where he jumps, plunges the sword in the ground, and then basically blows himself up. Aside from that, they're just basic sword swipes that you're going to have to get used to dodging. You can block them. However, there's very few shields in the game that have 100% melee block and very high magic block. So you're either going to get hit by the magic or you're going to get hit by the sword. The shield I'm using, I believe it's called the Dragon Crest shield. I'm not 100%. It's a very nice shield. It doesn't block 100% melee, but it's around 95%, and it blocks around 80% of his magic. So I brought this shield with me just in case I needed it, and there's a few times, like right there, you can see it blocks most of, but not all the damage, so it's a very handy shield. But really, it is going to come down to primarily your ability to dodge. Again, his attacks are very basic, and he is a slow-moving character, so that means if you can dodge his attacks properly like this, then you have several seconds where you will have an open Smelter Demon that you could just slam your sword, hammer, mace, whatever you are using into him. If you're a magic character, be prepared to bring a melee weapon into this. Honestly, the Smelter Demon, along with many other of the new bosses, they tend to have a lot of health and a lot of defense, so it's in your interest just to bring the Hide Lightning Sword if you can. Most magic characters should have enough stats to at least be able to wield this sword, or at the best, or at the least rather, you could always get a dagger or something even lighter and then just enchant it with lightning. But as with the Cave of the Dead and the Sunken King DLC, when you beat the Smelter Demon, you do get an extra reward for killing him. So walk up here, go through this tunnel, enter this one room, and look for a whole lot of one item. But that one item is very handy, don't worry. Go over there and pick it up. What you will find is a single Pharos Mask, and put it on, and it'll have the effect of always making your character wet. So this is the same as the Sweat Pyromancer if you just roll through some water. And what this does is make you highly resistant to fire damage. Highly to multiple powers. It's very, very useful. It's very good in the DLC, but most notably, it'd be very great to use if you're having trouble in the actual Iron Keep. The normal Smelter Demon, who has a lot of fire-based attacks, suddenly much weaker when he's dealing 1 damage because your character's got the wet effect on them. Same as walking on all that lava that has chests on it you couldn't open before. Now you can because your character, again, taking very little fire damage thanks to this mask. But that is it for the optional boss, the Smelter Demon Magically Enchanted 2.0 edition. I hope this helped you out a little bit. I thank you for watching, and we'll see everyone next time.